I'd like to welcome everyone here this morning. Thank you all for coming and acknowledge the traditional owners of the area, the Gimoi Wallabara Yidinji people, and pay respects to their elders, both past and present. We're very fortunate to live in far north Queensland, which hosts two of the oldest cultures in the world in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And it's also wonderful to be here with Som and Kirsty this morning. I've known both of them for some time. Kirsty is one of the most ethical journalists, or has certainly had been in the past, and in an industry that's dominated by clickbait and gotcha journalism, it's been refreshing to deal with Kirsty over the years because she reports the facts and has a very strong moral compass. So it's good to see you, Kirsty. And my good friend Som. Lovely to hear you. Oh, I should be reading out the dot points, sorry. Kirsty Nancarrow. Kirsty is an award-winning journalist and businesswoman. Originally from Sydney, Kirsty spent 10 years in Alice Springs as the ABC journalist, moved to Cairns in 2010 to work at ABC Far North. Kirsty is the founder of the FNQ branch of Women in Media, a not-for-profit industry body supporting women working in all forms of media. In 2017, Kirsty founded the training company Regional Media Training, and 3 years after that, she started the company Emotion Video Training and Production. Himalayan Dreams is Kirsty's first book. So Som Tamang. Som was born in the rural village of Batasi in Nepal. Som came to Australia in 2003 and has had Cairns as his home since then. He is the founder of the charitable humanitarian organisation Friends of Himalayan Children. In 2007 was when you founded that, Som?
Yeah, process started and approved by the start of the 2008.
And in 2014, Som founded the trekking company Take On Nepal, a socially just tourism venture which provides employment pathways for young people from Batasi. And Himalayan Dreams is the biography of Som's life so far. And I'm sure you'll find this morning's presentation interesting. Just some parting words on how important Multicultural Week is. We shouldn't even debate migration or immigration. We just need it to survive. And if anyone's been to the hospital recently, so many people from South India working there to fill the skill shortages we have. So it makes this city so rich, diverse and enjoyable to mix with people who are Punjabi, who are Bhutanese. We can have all those cultures here in Cairns, and it can make life such a celebration. So thank you all. Thank the Queensland Government supporting Multicultural Week, and I look forward to hearing Som and Kirsty speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Nikki and I'm a Community Engagement Librarian here at Cairns Libraries, and it's absolutely my pleasure to be here today to interview Kirsty and Som. Cool. Okay. Can we talk a little bit about your life and background before you met Kirsty?
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah, it's been in Cairns. I think it's safe to say I lived in Cairns longer than I lived in Nepal. So I came here at 2003. In September, actually. I remember it was like yesterday to me. And ever since, back then I was really I wasn't able to speak the way I can now, or read and write. Basically, that's how I was in 2003. So as soon as I arrived here, I joined TAFE College soon after, and I learned English, and most of these stories in the book as well, so I don't want to take too much of time. Please tell me if I have to stop when I tell my story. So yeah, a few months doing English course, and a few years later I started doing grade 11 and 12, 10, 11 and 12 at TAFE. And it just became my type of life story, where actually most of those people I got involved as a peer student or my teachers, they still part of my life now, and saying that some of my beginner English teachers is my committee members in the charity helping right now after they have retired being teachers. So after finishing doing grade 11 and 12, I also went to university at JCU, and I completed my degree, I think it was 2012 or 14. I forgot, it's somewhere in the book. I'm always having trouble tracking my own time. And during that time, as soon as I arrived here, I actually got a job not soon after I arrived. I think it was like the next week. I met someone, I was walking around the street. I walked into one of the place they do little yoga, martial arts on the Anderson Street. I walked in to have a look, and lady was minding their children doing this class, and I started conversation. I told her I just arrived a few days ago, and then she was able to line me up with a job in Kuranda. So I started job straight away the next week, and that really was kind of like a beginning of my Australian life, and I continued. Within a couple of weeks, I was able to buy a $1,200 car, and I had that car until I met my current partner, Susan, and that car really allowed me to complete my TAFE and almost the university. And then while I was doing all of these different things, I continued helping my brothers and sisters back in Australia. And a few years after I was settled here, I went to Nepal, and there was so many devastation. Back then, Nepal was facing a civil war within the country. A lot of fighting, a lot of shooting, a lot of bombing, and between the government and the public, and lots of children were displaced for many, many reasons. And I found many of the children in Kathmandu, and that gave me the memory of how I had endured the difficulties as a child. Then I really had to make some changes, and that's when I came back to Australia and started thinking how to help. And I did approach many people, many organizations to help build school in my village, but most of them was refused. And I started questioning myself and to others, and started research. How does the Australian aid works? How does the Save the Children or World Vision? And I just decided that maybe I can actually do myself of those things, since they are refusing any funds to help my people where they're really suffering because of the simple thing, which is access to an education, and which is one of the Millennium Goal back then for the United Nations. So that's how everything began and everything. And with all that story, I actually didn't tell before.
Yeah,
I
was wondering if we could take you back even further to before you came to Australia, where you were born into a rural village, I think 1,800 metres above sea level. Very, very simple life, very traditional family values. Yeah,
and in the village, anybody live in the village still the same. And the only difference is we have a high school in the village now. And thanks to all the people in Cairns, mostly, and also everyone around the world who supported me to make that happen for my village. But before I left Batase, life was very different in the way that most of the children, once they reach age of 8 or 10, there was no access to further education, and that's one of the reasons that I left the village. So huge difference now. When I talk to children of year 10 now and remembering my own childhood as a 10-year-old, it's very, very different because every children can go to school now. Back then, almost everyone was married by 14. Anybody who were not married by 14 or 15 was considered maybe unlucky, or they have some problem in the family, or too poor, but now no one is actually being married until very older age, like even maybe 20, 25. And that's a huge difference, because back in my time, as soon as I was 8 or 10, once I left the school, that's about time where you could go farming in exchange. Means you can go and do daily farming. You just do in the rounds. Today I go to your house, next day yours, and in a group of whole maybe 10 houses, you do in rotation because work collectively, we are always successful in doing anything in a group. So it's the same in the village. So if we are building a house, everybody come to build my house for free. Same in return, they go back to build the house of someone else another time. Same with farming. And that farming still exists, but not anymore with the building of the house, because the economies change, the financial systems have changed. To make the labor to make your family grow, the most important part was getting married. So I remember when I was probably about 9 years of age, my family's thinking about. So when you get married in Nepal, you get some kind of engagement before, maybe even 3 years before. So if you have a 10 years old, you make engagement by the time about 12, then you have savings and you do a proper marriage and celebration, and then probably by 15, 16, you have a couple of children. So that was the memory I had. And my older sister have 2 children now. I know that she was accepted engagement when she was about maybe 10, and I remember her going through breakdown, mental health, going through such a traumatic event when she was teenage, because it caused so much psychological damage that it drove her into that level. And because of that, it actually worked, whatever happened to her. It should never happen in first place, but the first marriage was dropped. Means that she didn't have to get married when she was very young, which would have been about 12 or 13. But then later on, she was organized to remarry with a man. He was divorced by the time he was about 16. So yes, unfortunately that marriage is gone ahead, because my grandparents and my parents was worried about having not married child at home, and there was successful marriage, and then once got married, once she had 2 children, then things just went really bad. Probably things was really bad earlier, but we didn't know until she's told. And by the time I was already in Australia, and that's when I was helping my other siblings. Then I really had to do a serious thinking and serious negotiation with my own parents and the villages and the husband side of the things. And that was a really traumatic itself and very frightening situation, because it's like my village in the back those days, I still can be now, it's like stepping into Yarrabah. You have your own law. I don't know how many people here go to Yarrabah, but I've been to Yarrabah. I worked in Yarrabah last 4 years before I left a few months ago. I go all the time there. The system in Yarrabah is exactly the same. The only difference is that has been introduced alcohol, which has destroyed the system of the culture and everything. If you remove the alcohol and people were living normal, that's exactly the same my village used to be. If you just stepped in the wrong side of the family, you don't know who's end up in the cemetery next time. So that's a kind of the frightening situation when you. So that's the event I had to face, and still haven't resolved since my sister was taken away. I still haven't made any communication or any resolution with her ex-boyfriend side of things, and he's still not signing any document for my sister's children to have birth certificate and passport, and the children are still having to fight because my sister would not give him the divorce document so he can remarry. So he's remarried, but he can re-register the marriage because multiple marriage is also unacceptable in the law of Nepal. But it's just like Yarrabah, you can not register a marriage, but you can have plenty of partners waiting for you kind of thing if you are that type of person. So
sorry, can I'm just curious to know, Som, and there's several experiences you had that are described in the book as you were growing up. I just wonder, what spurred you to think that things could be different, that things could be better? What stopped you from just being another member of your village that followed the traditions and the laws? What inspired you to think that maybe things could be different?
I know the people that who were doing bad things, like taking children to India, the girls to India, and people who are married multiple wives so they can take away from the village. I knew they were not a good people, and I have seen them being violent towards good people, such as my neighboring people or my own grandfather. So because of all of that involvement and experience, I knew that was a wrong thing, and because it's only few people causing a lot of distress and lot of issues amongst the village and taking these women away from their family. And I knew that, I guess that they were not taken for anything other than use them and abuse them, because I managed to have a good relationship with all type of people. And when I was able to open up the young girls who returned after spending few years in India with HIV, I was able to hear their story. So I knew what they're doing was wrong. I knew they didn't want to go, but they didn't know what they're going for. And at the same time, I knew the education existed outside of my village, and I wanted to have that. That's when I decided to pack my bag and leave my home without giving any notice to my family. And that was probably the day that I changed my life. And leaving my village for education, and that also led me to all kind of experience that is all type of abuse, slavery, the labor job. So there's nothing in the list that I haven't not experienced. So when I came to Australia, I already overcome all of that obstacles. By age 14, I have been to India, and I have fled the situation and started working as a laborer. When I worked as a laborer, I ended up working as a porter for people come from all over the world, and a lot of people came from America and Australia, and it has taught me so much more than I wanted to learn, and that has led me to Australia and begun the whole new chapter, whole new journey.
And you have an incredible story of chance meetings and opportunities, and you have to read the book. How many people have read the book? Few people? Okay, lots of it. So you have to read it. You have to read it to believe it. But Som, I wanted to know, when you came to Australia, and you've already talked about it a little bit. You got a job, you're working, you bought a car, you're meeting lots of people, you're socialising, you're kind of grabbing life with both hands, this new life. But you're very conscious of your family and heritage back in Nepal. And I'm just wondering, you've kind of touched on it, but was there, like, what did your family think? Did they support this new life that you were living, or was there a bit of tension? Or? Yeah,
lots of tension. They never support for a very, very long time. And still today, my father just passed away a few days ago. He was very proud, but he's never openly supported. And my mom, she's still alive, she's in the village. She still questions what I'm doing might be not the right thing. Because her saying is, a lot of people go to India and come back, they bring lots of money and they make lots of friends with everyone. But I go to Australia, I bring a lot of money, but I make a lot of enemies. So it's just human nature. Sometimes people you raise, people you support since they're a child turn against you. And that happened multiple times. If that's just happens within your own family, sometimes with your own children, and when someone like me, I never support people with expectation. So even they turn against me, it doesn't really, it's a disappointment, but it doesn't really affect me like it affects my mom. So it's most of the time, people I helped, I have educated probably over between 150 to 300 young people when I look at the whole village, between the school, the hostel, and the all other. Probably out of 300 people, a good 3 is coming back as they want to get what I have, and they want to, they just want to. So sometimes it doesn't matter. So this kind of event, my mom is the first one to experience and see how they talk and what they're trying to do after I have given so much. So she's in that scenario, she's saying, you need to stop raising your own enemy. So yeah, it happens, unfortunately, and it has happened to me. and I have no doubt it will continue, but doesn't mean one or two bad potato means I put them everything in the bin.
So with incredible resilience, you found an organisation that funds a school in Batasi. Batasi, am I saying that right? Batasi. And I'm curious to know, how did you two meet? Where in this journey? So the organisation is established and the school is established. Kirsty, how did you come across this amazing story?
So this is how. I was a journalist for ABC Far North, and on the 25th of April, Anzac Day 2015, as we were commemorating Anzac Day here, something horrible was unfolding in Nepal, and it was an earthquake that claimed 9,000 lives, and one of them was Som's brother. And so I come to work on Monday and I see the front page of the Cairns Post and Brendan's photo of Som as a local Nepali community member here who had been affected by this unspeakable tragedy. And I reached out to Som to see if he would be available for an interview to talk about the event and his plans to go back and help. And I was really surprised that he answered the phone and that he said, sure, I can meet you at home. And at a time of incredible stress and loss, was very open and welcoming. And I went round to his home and met Susan and the kids, and we did an interview for ABC, and then Som was leaving a couple of days later, so we organised a camera crew to actually meet Som over there and travel back to Batasi, and there was a story on the 7:30 about the impact of the earthquake, and I continued to follow Som's journey because he went back, I think, 3 times in the 12 months after the earthquake, or the few months after, because he was concerned that the focus would be on Kathmandu and the Himalayas, and that all of these remote villages that have been impacted would be left basically out in the cold and with limited shelter and food. So as he does, he just gets on the ground, tries to rally as much in terms of resources here, and goes over there and immediately just mobilises people and gets some help to places that's needed. So I was very intrigued to learn more, and we stayed in touch over the coming months and years. So that's really how it started for me, and the more that we spoke, the more I got to know about what Friends of Himalayan Children did. And having covered lots of natural disasters, I knew that there's an immediate outpouring of support, both financial and volunteers, and then as time goes on, different things happen around the world, and our focus moves away from those things, a bit like the Cairns floods. I mean, it's very raw still for people here. There's many people who are not still back in their homes, and it's very much still present, but for the rest of us who weren't affected, it's possibly not top of mind anymore. So 18 months after the earthquake, I ended up going to volunteer at the school for a month, and that was really when I knew that I had to tell this incredible story, because Som is so humble about his life, and seeing that, going to the school every day, living in the village with the hostel kids, and seeing the impact of what he has been doing was pretty incredible, and I thought everyone needs to know about this.
So it's kind of started as a work gig, a journalism gig, and then at some point you started to get a sense that this is something special, this is a story that needs to be told. And did you get a sense that your life was going to change through this process? When did you start to think, wow, I'm not going to come out of this the same person that I went in? Yes.
So when I went to Nepal, I was in a pretty bad place in my life. I was taking a break from the ABC. I subsequently was diagnosed with PTSD. I knew that I had depression at the time, and I had kind of lost my sense of self, my sense of purpose, and I didn't really know what the future held for me. And it was in that context that I decided to go and volunteer, and it was life-saving and life-changing for me, just being in a place where people don't have much, but they were willing to share it with you anyway. And on the whole, people just seemed happier than here in Australia. And it just kind of really shifts your perspective about what's important. And just having that rhythm of life, of getting up with the sun, participating in all of the community activities, as Som said, you're just part of the community, and you just pitch in and do what needs to be done. And it really restored my sense of purpose. And I thought, and I'd never taught before, but actually going to the school and having a go at that and feeling like I was maybe part of helping these kids be educated and have a wider worldview really planted a seed for me about what I wanted to do next, which was be a trainer. So I came home not just wanting to write some story, but also wanting to imagine another career for myself as a media trainer. And now I'm a media trainer and a video trainer. So it really did change the course of my life as well.
Very transformative. So I'm curious, you know you want to tell Som's story. Was that a hard proposition to sell to Som? What did you think when Kirsty said, "I'd like to"? Would you mind if we tell your story? What was that like?
I was actually quite happy, and I was open to the idea, and here we go now. It's out.
Did you have a sense that it was an important story to tell?
I'm not sure about that one. I think I always think differently. Sometimes depends. I think in some ways I think it is important to tell, to make sure other people believe in themselves and be inspired. But same time, I wasn't going to write my own book. I'm not a writer. So when Kirsty came along and offered me the idea, I was very pleased.
Yeah, okay. How do you approach the task of telling such an extraordinary story as a white Western woman who's going to tell the story of another culture, someone else's layers and layers and layers of complexity? How do you start?
I probably wouldn't have started if I hadn't had that month of immersion in the village. So at least I had a sense and a context for Som's life. Even though he wasn't there with me at that time, I was surrounded by his family and his friends and children who he was helping. So that did give me a bit of a sense of what life might have been like, albeit improved from when Som was a child. I got to experience a festival while I was there, so some of the deep religious and cultural traditions as well. So I had a little bit of context to start with, but the Cairns libraries have been, were very...
I didn't know she was going to say that.
useful, because it was a bit daunting. I thought, I've never done this before. This is my first book. I'm used to doing radio stories and TV stories and having the 24-hour news cycle, and it's there and it's done. You've got something to show for it at the end of the day. And a book is not like that. It's a really long process, and we've got other authors here in the room who know what I'm talking about. It's so yes, I thought I have to word up on the history and the culture and some of these things because I didn't know much. So I drew on the resources at the various libraries to sort of educate myself about some more of the history and the culture around Nepal. I had many interviews with Som, probably over about 3 years, and tried to tease out some of this detail from a personal point of view from Som. But he doesn't think that anything in his life is particularly noteworthy, because I suppose when you have your own lived experience, that's your lived experience. You don't know that it's extraordinary. So I did end up having to interview lots and lots of other people to piece together this life, because it's only a life of 40 years so far, but it's been very full. So I think there's about 50 people in the book, and probably 40 people of those I've interviewed. So everyone from people that he supported as children who've grown up to be young leaders in Batassi, teachers at the school, his old principal, who is still the principal of Batassi School, and even people he met, characters he met along the way. You alluded before to some chance meetings, and there were a few, we'll come back to that slide, but there were a few people in the book that I didn't know were going to be part of the book when I decided to write a story about a Cairns man from Nepal. You'll have to read it to get the context, but I got to interview Jason Clark, who played Rob Hall in the movie Everest, who is part of the reason that Som got to come to Australia. He was introduced to Som via the man next to him, Malcolm Kennard, who's another Australian actor, and it was quite a thrill to talk to Malcolm for the book about his experience with Som, which was the first time that he went to Everest Base Camp. And it was a pretty harrowing experience for them both, and bonded them for life. Conrad Anker has had a hand, he's a famous mountaineer, he's had a hand in helping some of Som's female guides get to the next level with their climbing and their trekking guide experience. And Julie Estrella, who I didn't know before, and most people don't know, but is a good friend of Som's now, but was one of the first people that Som took to the village, and he was the one that provided the first real money to help Som start realising his dream of getting more buildings, growing the school, and making his dreams come true. So that's Malcolm and I on the right at the Sydney book launch just a few weeks ago. It's the first time we'd actually met face to face, and that was really a thrill for me. And Som and Malcolm haven't seen each other since Nepal. So I'm hoping that at some stage we can get them together again, because they look very much like that. So yes, it was the whole process of getting this book together was I had to go back to my journalism skills and really try and draw out the story, piece together the little bits that I could from people, and then take them back to Som and say, can you tell me about this and that, and then we got to put some more context to some of these stories, of which there were many.
And have you faced any sort of social tension or political tension in the telling of this story?
I guess a little bit. Along the journey, I did chat with a couple of other members from the Nepalese community here, and it's covered in the book about some of those tensions that still exist. I mean, the caste system has been outlawed for many years, but the reality is there's still prejudices there. A lot of people a lot of Nepalese who are in Australia have come here because they've had the money to do so or the means to do so, and that wasn't Som's journey. So I do feel that there's a bit of resistance sometimes, and I interviewed someone from the consulate actually to provide that sort of context, and even she admits that it still unfortunately exists today, even in the diaspora here.
Yeah. Have you found an audience in Nepal for the book? Is there an audience there for the book?
I don't think so.
No. There was an inaugural Himalayan literature festival that we were invited to present at a couple of months ago, but it involved quite a lot of cost to actually go there, not just to go there, but to actually participate in the festival. It was not something that we were able to do, but I guess that was an opportunity. And I'm actually going back with my husband Sean, who's never been there, in October, and we are hoping to engage with the Australian Embassy and host an event.
Okay. So you've kind of journeying together now since creating this book and this story, and I suppose you each had your individual paths and you met, and now the journey continues together. So what do you think's next? What doors have opened, and what opportunities do you think are ahead now that this project is out there?
I live every day, today and tomorrow and next week. I don't have any big vision. So I am really glad that school is the way it is now, and we have very healthy, about 50 to 60 students who's receiving a very good scholarship program, doing further education and attending the college and university in Nepal. And we have about just over 30 students in the hostel to keep them safe and go to school. And these 30 students are more like orphan children that doesn't have. Unfortunately, in Nepal, we don't have a child safety or any social security to take care of this type of children. And without the Friends of Himalayan Children, they wouldn't have the safe home. I just wanted to make it very clear to everyone, from the very beginning, I have never drawn any payment to do all of this work in my village, and we are fully volunteer. I volunteer myself, and anytime I go to Nepal to do any of this work or visit my family, it's all my own cost. And everything, any cents you put into the charity is all going to feed the hostel children or going towards their education. So only people employed through this organization is teachers to teach the children and the cooks to cook for these 30 plus children in the hostel. And most of the members in the charity who runs the Friends of Himalayan Children Nepali chapter, they are also all volunteers, and we are one of the only registered and affiliated charity organization in my district of Sindhupalchok in Nepal. We are working very closely with the local government in Nepal, and also we are under International Social Welfare Council, and also the child welfare and child safety under that in Nepal as well. So we are a very, very small organization, comes very small donations through some people collecting donation 10 cents tin, or come from some of the United petrol station donation box, and some of the IGA grocery stores, and some takeaway shops around town. So from very small group of generous people, that's what I'm doing day to day, every day, and I hope to continue this. And after COVID, because taking people to Nepal was my full-time job before COVID, and my little shop at the pier, but after COVID, both of those businesses went a bit down. So I took a job to care for children who are displaced, who are under Department of Child Safety. I did residential care support worker for a few years since COVID, until a few months ago I quit this job to start a new journey. So I am now starting another organization to support people on disabilities or NDIS. So I'm just building a small another organization to support people that is people who trust me, really. And also with the same plan, I'm hoping to train and build a team around helping people in a My Age Care plan, where I can go and assist them at home with the good people around. So that's my current journey. In the long run, I can't really, at the moment, I'm not in my place to think 20 years behind, because just came back from loss of my dad, and also I lost one of the team member in the mountain who was one of the main keeper in Friends of Himalayan Children in Nepal chapter. He was the main person who take care of the children and creating new leaders. So just at the moment, everything is it's just a matter of keeping everything together and flowing. And soon again, I'm just going back for the final funeral for my dad's goodbye in a few days. So I don't have any big plans, but I will let Kirsty share her futures and plans.
So my big plan with this book, and the reason that this is speaking engagement number 18, is because there is the school, the beautiful school as it is at the moment. It was rebuilt by Caritas Switzerland after the earthquake, but it's always been Som's dream to ensure that kids right through to the end of school, grade 12, can stay in Batassi, because it's quite expensive to educate kids if they have to leave Batassi to go to Talamurang or Melanji or Kathmandu. There are some generous sponsors of Friends of Himalayan Children who have allowed that to happen for the older children, but it's not an opportunity that everyone gets. So really one of the main drivers for me with this book was to inspire people to support the extension of this school to grade 12, so that every child in Batassi can finish their school and go on to fulfil their dreams. So it's an ambitious project. Rotary has come on board. Rotary Club of Cairns Sunrise has sponsored a Rotary Australian World Community Service project, and our aim is to raise about $400,000 to finish the school, and that is to fund teachers, buildings, accommodation for teachers and students, so you get high quality teachers to the school as well. So that's my dream with the book, and that's why I'll continue getting out and talking to people about Som's incredible story, and why I was so motivated to do this in the first place, because I know that there's a lot of communities and a lot of schools around the world that are in this situation as well, but this one personally touched me. So, and it is such a great Cairns story, and I do want to thank the Cairns Regional Council, because it really kicked off the process for me. It was like a sign from the universe. I had the inclination to write this book, but when I finally decided, with my husband's support, that I would not be able to write this book unless I left the workforce and gave it my focus, at that point I succeeded in getting a Regional Arts Development Fund grant from the council to support me to write the book, and that really was for me, that was the green light, if you like, to go and run with this project. So very grateful for the support of the council through that project. And I love the comments that I'm getting from the readers of this book, and I'm hoping that it's resulting in more inquiries to Friends of Himalayan Children about volunteering in the village, which is an option for people, and also going on treks. We haven't even talked about Take on Nepal, but Som's got a trekking business which focuses on women guides, and one of the truly satisfying things for me was to, most of these young women I taught in my class when I was there in 2016, and I return in 2018 to gather interviews for the book and do a trek to Everest Base Camp, which I hadn't planned on doing, but it was my opportunity to go back and spend time with Som and talk to these girls and really immerse myself again in the Himalayan side of Som's life. And to have all these girls actually leading our treks as guides was very inspiring, and it's pioneering. It is, I think it's still, we can still call it a male-dominated industry.
And I'm really proud to say that the Take on Nepal, it is a very successful journey that I can easily call. So they really started off because a lot of children came out of the hostel, came out of the school, needing job, and then that's what led me to start the Take on Nepal. And ever since I started Take on Nepal and Women Guide program, now almost 100% of the trekking agencies in Nepal were Western companies who take foreigners to Nepal are actually, they are promoting as a hiring women guides and female staff, which is great, but they just don't realize how hard it is to break the barrier and the cycle of women in Nepal to actually become a guide. So it's very easy to say, yeah, we support women guides and we have women guides they want to employ, but it's not easy task for any woman to just be a guide. They need this space to nurture their qualities and support them from very beginning to become a guide and be able to work. So that was a very successful journey. I have a team of about 20 to 50 people in Nepal working. At least we have 2 seasons every year, October and November through December, and March, April, and May, those months. So we are very busy, employed so many female and male. So it's not just about the women, having women up, but it's also giving understanding to the boys that I raise, the equality and respecting each other. It's not just prioritizing girls or the girls are better than boys and boys are better than girls. It's about the meeting together. And I am not afraid to say that we built a really successful program for Mount Everest region. We are really well known for who started this special journey for women to become a part of the working force and be part. So it's very, very interesting. It's not only helping Nepali women, but also actually here a lot of trekkers, when they come, they say, how dare you are making women carry 20 kilo, 30 kilo backpack and making them actually those kind of question and those kind of conversation come from the West is because not understanding equal. It's still the separation is not just in Nepal, it's also here. How can you make women carry 20? But when you look at the overall power of women, it's actually, women is actually much stronger than men, physically and mentally as well. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. Because when people say, oh, how dare you can make women carry 50 kilograms, but actually it's only you are not able to carry as much as men is because you're not training, you're not doing from very beginning. Because I say this because I see the evidence in the village. Our mothers and sisters are carrying every day more than our fathers and brothers, even though they consider they're stronger. If you look some of the photos through, the women carry much more heavy load, not only on the back of them, it's also in their minds, because even in this culture, Western society and the village society is same. Men only do one thing, and they think they are the best and they are the main person and working and bringing money. That they really think they are the boss. They really think that everybody really should be just looking up to them. I bring money, I bring this, I do the hardest work. But in actual fact, if you do deep dive and look at the women carry, if you're talking about even here, the women do go to full-time job. They do make lunches and dinner for their children, and they do make all the appointments to any important stuff. In most of the cases, when you really look and if you look, women who go to gym, there are women who can lift same as a man because they are doing it. So some reason, because of the whole society, they really put women behind. So that's my view of the world of when we talk about men and women, because I see it within my own community, I see it here. So that's something that I really believe that anything close to me, I can make a change. Maybe I can't change the whole world, but it's just maybe I can help one little next step close to me. So that's the whole point of Take on Nepal and the equality and education and that kind of thing. Yeah. Thank you.
We might go to questions. Questions, comments.
Has the child trafficking stopped in that place?
Yeah, my village is child trafficking is. I can absolutely be able to say stopped 100%. Now, because of the education, because of the school, and because of the scholarship, everything, the opportunities provided and opportunity they receive, the children, women and men, once they become a teenage or adult, they don't go to India anymore. They come to Australia, they go to Japan, they go to Korea, and anyone who can go to those countries I mentioned, they go to Middle East countries. So they don't go to India to the prostitution or slavery where they are trapped. So that itself is a huge change in my time, and I never thought that, it was never my plan to have that kind of change. When I started the Friendship Himalayan Children, all I wanted was up to grade 8, from grade 3 to grade 8, and by the grade 8, people are 15 years of age, and they will be fine. They are old enough to know better. But just continued on with everyone around, and community in Cairns, community in Batasi village. So I'm feeling really comfortable and really happy with all the outcome. Anything, there is always some negativity in a bigger picture, but the negativity is very small. So because of all the things that's happening. So now even the people who would be against what I do and against me, after 20 years of my effort in the village, they're coming forward and thinking wrong and right. So they are more siding towards me. So sometimes villagers very, very shocked why somebody who against me 20 years ago is siding with me now. They don't really understand.
Som, it's really nice to put a face to the character in the book.
Thank you.
There is a saying, the universe never sends you challenges you can't meet. But I have a feeling the universe has had to work fairly hard for your noteworthy ability to cope with the problems that you've had.
Yeah.
From the point of view of the book, your journalistic style came through loud and clear, incidentally.
Thank you.
Which was a big bonus in that it didn't get all airy-fairy. There was an awful lot of fact put down properly, so the story flowed really nicely. I guess you and Juliet combined in on that.
She actually gave me a huge compliment, which was, I wish all books were this easy to edit. So she didn't actually have to do too much. She gave me a couple of good pieces of advice, taking a bit more of myself out of the story. As you can see in the story, there's a little bit of my journey. But she's like, save that for your own book. This is Som's story, so I thought that was really good advice. So that was really the main influence she had on the overall flow of the book.
I can show you my 26-page critique I got from her.
Yeah, but she's a brilliant editor, and I knew that she was going to, because of your experience, Stephen Chung's experience, Leslie Van Stavren's experience, everyone has had good things to say, and I knew that the book would be in really good hands with Juliet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Chris.
Well done.
Gina.
Thank you.
I'm just curious to know, so, you know, the changes that you've brought about in your village, did or does it have any influence on neighbouring villages? That they can see, you know, the children get educated, they get more opportunity, is it just contained to your village?
That one is definitely what has happened when we're talking about Batasi village. My village is a really isolated little village in the big council. So, like, I really like to put Cairns as an overall. When we talk about, if somebody asks you, where do you live? Cairns. Even you live in Yarra, people would say Cairns. Or even you lived in Kuranda, you say Cairns because you fly out of the Cairns when you're going traveling in America or New Zealand. You tell Cairns because you won't say Kuranda, you won't say Yarra maybe because you say Cairns because Cairns. It's like that. When you look at the bigger scheme of my village, my village is like Kuranda village or Yarra, the school. So the mostly in that area, the most isolated and remote school is my village. So the other schools are already getting plenty of funding and plenty of access. So that's because I work in that environment. It's really just Batasi village stepping up. That's all. Because if we didn't have a village school in Batasi, it's like the kids from Yarra have to come high school in Gordonville, or I don't know where they have to go. Or do they have a high school in Yarra now? So, yeah, maybe they may have a high school in Yarra, but not so great because it's it's definitely a great example is like Yarra. So people had to get out of the Batasi. So what I'm doing is just creating a space and center where they can level up to neighboring towns. Yeah.
How far is Batasi from Kathmandu?
If you walk on the walking trail, is 26 kilometers from the center of Kathmandu. If you drive, when I left my village, I used to go a long way around, about 85 kilometers, but now that has halved because road has built all corners in Nepal now. So it's about 40 kilometer drive from the Kathmandu.
I've experienced it both ways and I prefer to walk.
Okay.
It's safer. It takes 2 days
To get there, to the village.
to walk.
To walk. How about
Yeah.
driving? How long does it take driving?
It's different type of driving. I was there this week. I just came back Monday, so I came on a motorbike from village down to Kathmandu, had lunch, shower, change, and went to airport. That motorbike trip was just under 2 hours. But same road, if you go on a 4-wheel drive, you can put 3.5 hours. But if you go on a local bus, you can call it 8 hours.
Yeah. The roads are very rough and it's monsoon season at the moment, so there's landslides. The road repair program is just not like it is here. Even in Kathmandu, I was quite shocked at the state of the roads in the city. So it takes a lot longer to get from A to B and you get shaken around a bit.
We might take one more question. And then, have you guys got some time to chat with people afterwards? Yeah.
So, as the children in your village get educated, is there a concern that they may want to leave the village, or are there opportunities in the village? Is that an issue for the local people?
It's definitely not a concern because before I started school, kids were being taken every day and was removing and leaving village more than now. So absolutely no concern on leaving because it was already leaving, and in fact it was someone else taking the children. So what I'm creating is opportunity where they can make a choice to leave or not. But children now or young people don't leave village until they are about 18 or 19 because they have the access to an education in the village. And after that, is really, so what happens now and what I experienced from my own experience when I left the village 10 years of age, within few years I forgot all my language from back in the village. And I came to Australia 2003, 3 years not having contact. Back in the days, there's no phone. 2003, no phone to the village. Cut out for 3 years. I completely forgot how to talk my language or the Nepali language. So what I am really proud to tell you that now the kids get to stay in the village up until their teenage years. They still continue their culture, continue their language. They can go in and out. Where when you remove a child at age 10 or 12, they can freely access in and out by their choice because they're not capable physically and mentally, where now they can go and in and out. So absolutely there is a risk, and there was always the risk and fear, but not regrettable one for me.
And there have been many of the young people who've come through Friends of Himalayan Children who have returned to give back. People like BJ who've had support through Friends of Himalayan Children who come back and they volunteer, or they come back and do some work in the school. So there is that elastic band back to the community that didn't exist before.
What's the story of that girl? You had us.
So that, are you talking about Fulmaya?
Yeah.
Yes. So Fulmaya is Som's sister. She now lives here in Cairns as well. So the left-hand photo is a photo of Som when he started school. The middle photo is of Fulmaya. I'm not sure what age she was then.
That was when first time started going to school, when I was in Kathmandu.
She was 11.
About 25 years ago. So she would have not been 11 yet, maybe 9.
So this is very much how the village girls would be, and farming, looking after younger siblings, looking after getting married young, and looking after their husband's family, and having children young. And the photo on the right is Fulmaya more recently as one of Som's lead trekking guides. And thanks to Som, so he fought his parents to send her to school. That's really who he started with in terms of his campaign for gender equality. And she finally got to start school at 11. And then she went on to do a diploma in pharmacy and a Bachelor of Social Work. So she's now university qualified, a very accomplished trekking guide, and now lives in Australia, and you can go and see her at West Court Alive Pharmacy.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, talking about the age, marriage, education. So there is always when you solve one problem, there's always the different one in the same problem. So with the Fulmaya, there was a problem of getting married at early and not being educated because my parents never believed. And I fought that and educated her. She completed her education and she became a trekking guide. So until she was 30 years of age, she was still an unmarried woman. And then by then in the village, in the society, people talk badly when women are not married. And even here is, when you are in that situation, that environment, that culture, that group of people here, happens the same. It's no different. Then it really concerned me about her future. And one of these days, the Brendan who was here, he was traveling to Nepal quite often, and when Fulmaya came to Nepal for visit just before COVID, they have built some friendship and relationship, and recently, they got married and they are coupled, and She's now in Nepal because my dad just passed away, and she will be back in few weeks. So that was my concern, but thankfully she found her one love of her life, and Brendan, they are together, and that really made me really happy. And it's not only her, there are many trekking guides, females, staying not married for a very long time, not because I forced them, please don't get me wrong, because they open their doors, they open their minds, more empowered. But when I really think about the long-term effect in their life, I do really need to, I'm always thinking long-term for everyone, including myself. So when they reach certain age, like 30, it is a concern, because if they're not married, if they're not coupled, if they don't have a children, because of the society, and we don't have the social welfare system, we don't have aged care homes, and that can be a problem when they're older. So that is something that they never thought of, maybe, or maybe they thought of, but they just couldn't accomplish. So that is the other opposite problem for me now, not making them go to school, the other way around. Yeah, it is a bit of concern.
So something that else is fairly pioneering is that two of the ladies in this photo are actually married now, and they've, I don't know if Sanjana's had a baby, has she?
Yeah, no, but all of those are married except two on the left.
Yeah, so they've got married and in some cases had children, and they've come back to be trekking guides, and that wouldn't have happened before. So they're still able to pursue a career and support their families in that way.
So you've got copies of the book?
I do, yeah. If anyone would like
For sale?
to buy a book, it's signed by Som and I, and you can write a personal message in there as well if you like. And if you are interested in supporting the extension of the school in Batassi, then there's flyers there for the Rotary project. Of course, you can pop into Himalayan Dreams in the pier. Som's shop, he's there most days if you want to have a chat about trekking or volunteering or sponsoring or donating for the daily activities of the hostel. Sean and I have been sponsoring girls through Friends of Himalayan Children since 2016, and it's incredibly rewarding. So they're very good with social media in the village, so we're always seeing the impact that the work is having, and as Som said, there's no paid employees, so all of the money that you donate gets to the ground, gets to benefit those kids and their education. So thank you so much for listening today, and thank you, Nikki, for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I just want to acknowledge your being here at a sad time. Thank you for coming and being here with us today.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's just an honour to be in the presence of two people making a difference. So thank you. So, thanks everyone.
Thank you.